Hi, everyone, and welcome to week 4. I hope that you all had a great weekend. I know that we had a busy week last week um, since you guys were getting ready for the midterm exam. Please do not forget to take it. The test will be closed tonight at 11:30, so there's no makeup for the test. So please plan to take it, and again, do not wait till last minute. Okay, read my email from last week if you have any question about the test and watch the video that I sent you. But I can see that many of you actually took it. So if you didn't, do not miss it. Um, it was a crazy also week last week for our nation as we were counting and waiting all the votes and everything. I'm so glad that it's over. It was just crazy. So I hope that you all also recovered from all that waiting. It was brutal, honestly. I'm glad that it's over. Anyhow, so don't forget to take the test. And this week we're going to cover 2 chapters. So please read the email that I sent you this week. So we're going to cover chapter 7 and chapter 9. Last week, we started our very first micro topic, which was about elasticity, and we continue focusing on all those micro topics till the end of the semester. In chapter 7, we will learn about utility, which is nothing but satisfaction. And this is probably the only chapter that we discuss consumers and individuals, but the rest of the chapters that we discuss will be focused on firms and businesses and the production side of the economy. So this is the only chapter that we're going to see basically how individuals and consumers can maximize their satisfaction from their consumption. If you remember, in chapter 1, um, we talked about budget line. So we talked about all those points on the budget line that were attainable. In this chapter, we are trying to figure out which one of those points on the frontier on the budget line is the one that is picked by consumers. And you will learn that consumers actually will pick a point on the budget line that maximizes their utility. So you need to know some of the important concepts like total utility, which is total satisfaction from consumption, marginal utility. We had marginal cost and marginal benefit, if you recall, from chapter 1, which defined them. But from now on, we're going to learn a lot about these marginal values. So every time that you hear marginal, it means additional, extra, where we'll learn how to calculate this marginal utility that I'm talking about. So marginal utility is extra satisfaction that you get from consuming one more unit of output. And you need to know also the formula for marginal utility. So definitely take a look at it. But remember that utility as a whole is some sort of a concept that is sometimes difficult to kind of understand and accept, because we're trying to measure your satisfaction, right? If you look at the examples we have, we basically you try to calculate utility and the marginal utility. So let me just tell you something that economies try to come up with all these numbers, and you can be skeptical. For instance, if you don't like taco, your total utility from taco is 0, right? But if you look at some of the examples that I have in my notes, it is about taco and how much satisfaction you are getting from eating different units of taco, different number of tacos. So you can be skeptical about all those numbers, but remember that economies have their own way of coming up with numbers for utility by ranking different goods and services, and just try to figure out how much people like them, and then they come up with all those numbers. So please just accept all these numbers, and the unit that we have to read all those numbers for utility is util. So for instance, we say that if you eat one taco, your total utility or your total satisfaction is 10 utils. Okay, so that's the kind of the unit we have for utility. Okay, and marginal utility is your extra satisfaction, let's say, from eating one more taco. Pay attention to the diagram we have for both total utility and for marginal utility. Remember that the total utility is going to increase when you just start, for instance, eating taco. All of my examples are about taco. So let's say you're super duper hungry. So when you have the first taco or the second taco or the third taco, your total utility, your total satisfaction starts to increase pretty fast. But as you eat more and more, the fourth taco, fifth taco, you're not as hungry as before. You're still enjoying eating taco. So if you look at the graph, your total utilities is still going up, but not as fast as before. It's kind of the increase in total utility is kind of slowing down. Then your total utility reaches the max, and then after that, your total utility starts to decline. You're not enjoying eating taco anymore. In fact, that is the place where you're going to throw up if you eat more tacos. Okay, I'm just giving you this example so you don't forget. Okay, so whenever your total utility is going down, it means that you have to stop eating tacos. Okay, because first of all, your total utility is decreasing, and if you also look at the marginal utility graph, that is a place that your marginal utility becomes negative. That's your extra satisfaction. Okay, so pay attention to the relationship also between total utility and marginal utility. Marginal utility always decreases, okay? But it's positive as long as your total utility is growing, is going up. As soon as your total utility declines, your marginal utility is still going down, but becomes negative, okay? Another important topic in this chapter is how we can find that maximum utility that I was talking about. And we have actually something that is called consumer equilibrium condition or utility maximizing rule. They are the same. It says this consumer equilibrium condition that you can maximize your utility as a consumer if the marginal utility per dollar of all the goods and services that you consume are equal. So it means that if you divide the marginal utility by the price of all the goods and services that you buy and you consume and equalize them, then you can achieve your maximum satisfaction, your maximum utility. Do we always achieve this maximum utility that I'm talking about in real life? Absolutely not. Remember, we also talked about unattainable points in chapter 1 when we talked about budget line. Those were the goods and services that you like to buy probably, but you don't have enough money, or they're super duper expensive for you, right? We call them unattainable points, remember? Or unattainable combinations of goods and services. So if you cannot achieve them, obviously you're not a happy buyer, but with the given budget of yours, with the given prices, you do your best to achieve that maximum satisfaction. And you can achieve it by equalizing this marginal utility per dollar of goods and services that you consume. Okay, definitely look at the formula. You need to know how you can calculate marginal utility, and you need to know the consumer equilibrium condition. All right, and again, I told you also for the midterm that I do not have any problem if you have the formulas ready in front of you, even when you're taking the final exam. Just make sure that you know how to use them. All right, so that's pretty much about chapter 7. We're also going to study chapter 9 this week. So chapter 9 is super duper important. It's kind of the foundation of chapters 10, 12, and kind of 13. So you need to go into kind of detail and depth in this chapter, okay? This chapter is about production and cost. And our focus in this class is on short run. What does it mean, short run? We kind of briefly defined short run and long run in chapter 6, where we were talking about price elasticity of supply. But let me again tell you what it means. And for those of you who took macroeconomics, you probably also remember short run, long run, but the way that we kind of define it in micro is a little bit different from macro, okay? So in general, when we say short run, we mean less than 6 months, but more importantly, we're talking about the resources or the factors of production that we also learn about in chapter 1, okay? we're saying that in the short run, since the businesses do not have enough time, okay, and there are lots of risk in the short run, uncertainty about future in the short run, okay, so businesses do not want to invest much in the short run. It just doesn't make sense for them, okay? So um, what factor of production they are going to invest more is very, very important in the short run. In short run, businesses don't want to buy new capital. It's just expensive. If they buy it and market changes, they cannot sell it at the price that they purchased, okay? They are not going to change their location. They're not going to change land. Remember, we had land, labor, capital in chapter 1, but labor is cheap, okay? We're cheap. So the only factor of production, the only input basically that they change in the short run is labor. So except labor, other factors of production in the short run are fixed. That's a huge difference between short run and long run, okay? But in the long run, we know pretty much anything about the market. So businesses can expand in the long run. They can purchase any factor of production like capital, labor, land. They can buy anything and everything in the long run. We are focused in short run in our class because the decisions that businesses make in the short run is very important and it is the key to survive and expand in the long run, okay? So we're going to talk about short run production and short run cost in this chapter. At the end of this chapter, we're going to briefly look at the shape of the long run cost. That's pretty much our long run, okay? And in future chapters, we're going to talk about profit maximization in the short run, okay? So we're going to start the chapter. We're talking about economic cost, accounting cost. For those of you who took other business courses, you're probably familiar with accounting cost and accounting profit. Remember, just keep in mind that we also have another type of cost in economics, which is called, we have external costs and we have explicit cost and implicit cost. My son was just here, he distracted me. So explicit costs and implicit costs. So explicit costs are those costs that are basically monetary costs, like the money that you pay for your rent, for the raw materials that you purchase, the rent you pay, the insurance. They are all your explicit costs. But we also have something that is called implicit cost in economics that we do not have it in accounting, okay? That's why the economic profit is different from accounting profit, okay? These implicit costs are basically, the costs that I'm talking about are basically opportunity costs. It can be the time that you're running your own business. It could be the resources that you purchased in the past. These are all opportunity costs. It's hard to measure them, but it's important for businesses to pay attention to them because sometimes the future of the company, the business can change if we pay attention to the implicit costs because they are all opportunity costs, okay? So it's good for businesses to come back and check their implicit costs from time to time and just make sure that they're not missing anything. Their economic profit is reasonable, okay, and all those things. So we will learn in future chapters how we can calculate profit, but we will also briefly kind of looking at the formula we have for profit. Profit is your total revenue minus your total cost, okay? We will talk about short-run production. All the graphs in chapter 9 are very, very, very important. You will get lots of questions about the diagrams, the shape of, for instance, production, total production, the shape of marginal product. Okay, so these are all important. Again, we have lots of formulas, we have lots of graphs. Make sure you know how to use the formulas when it comes to taking the test or doing the assignments on Connect. Definitely have some practice redrawing all these diagrams, understand them, know the relationship between, for instance, production and cost are very, very important. So for production, we have total product, we have marginal product. So we had also marginal utility in chapter 7. So same thing, marginal means extra. It means extra production or extra unit of output. And since we're talking about production in the short run, the only factor of production or the only input you have is labor. So your marginal product is the additional output that you produce when you hire one more unit of output. Okay, we look at the shape of this total product, we look at the shape of marginal product. Let me just give you an example to kind of understand this short run. I try always to keep my videos short, but I have to explain because this topic is important. Just be patient, okay? Or just take a break and come back and watch the rest later. So the thing about a kitchen in a restaurant, okay? So we're talking about short run, right? And the output here is the number of burger per hour that this kitchen is able to make, okay? And it's short run, so we're just going to change the number of people in the kitchen. The location is fixed, the capital is fixed, so we're not changing the number of ovens, we're not changing the number of, I don't know, spatula, spoons, forks, knives, nothing. These are all our capital, okay? So they're all fixed, okay? So when you hire the first worker, the second worker, third one, since the productivity of these people in the kitchen is pretty high and you have enough capital per labor and basically you have enough capital and materials for everybody in the kitchen, suddenly the total number of burger per hour that this kitchen is able to produce is going to up rapidly, okay? That's where you see this sharp increase in total product graph, okay? But if you put more and more people in the kitchen, you hire more and more people, but you do not change the capital. Remember, the capital, the technology are all fixed in the short run. So you're not changing anything, but you're putting more and more people in the very same kitchen, same stuff in the kitchen, okay? The productivity of people in the kitchen starts to decline. The number of burgers per hour that this kitchen is able to produce is still going up, okay? Because they are still doing their job. So the number of burger that you are making is still going to go up. But the marginal product, which is the extra burger, that additional worker that you hire is going to make, will start to decline. When your total product was going up pretty fast, when the total product was going up sharply, your marginal product, the additional burger, that additional worker is able to produce is going up. So you're doing a good thing by hiring more workers. Your product is going up rapidly, your marginal product is going up. But as soon as you put too many people in the kitchen, your total product is going up slowly, but more importantly, your marginal product is going down. And remember, it's short run. As a business owner, you do not have enough time to make mistake in the short run. You're out of business if you hire the wrong amount of people in your kitchen. So it's just important how many people you are going to hire. It's just short run. It's crucial for you to make the correct decision. So as soon as you see this decline in your marginal product, and as soon as you see, okay, the number of burger that I'm making in the kitchen is going up, but not as fast as before, this is probably the place that you should stop hiring more people, okay? You're going to lose money if you hire the wrong amount of people for your kitchen. Make sense? I hope it does, okay? So I also use productivity, okay? If you pay attention to the graph, that's another kind of thing that you see in the short-term production graph. It's called AP, average product or labor productivity. Okay, labor productivity is the output per unit of labor, okay? The number of burger that each worker can produce, not the extra. An amount of one burger, that's your product, that's your average product or labor productivity, okay? So when you're hiring the right amount of people, the number of burger is going to go up very fast because they are productive. But when you put too many people in the kitchen, it's just crazy madness. So they do not have enough capital to work with. So their productivity starts to decline. The marginal product will go down. So hopefully it makes sense. I also made a video, definitely check it out, where I draw and kind of explain everything again when I draw the production. I also did the same thing for cost. We have two different costs. We have the total cost kind of graph, and we have the average cost graph. Definitely watch that video. I tried to draw everything, explain it. Probably if you watch that video, it's better than me talking again, but those graphs are very important. And when we're done with this production and short-term production and short-run cost, we put them together in this chapter to kind of see how they're connected. And I tried actually to do it at the end of that video, so definitely check it out. Okay, I recorded, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago, so definitely check it out. What else? And as I said, we will talk about and get familiar with all the abbreviation we have, like AP, TP, MP, TFC, ABC, okay, TVC, in this chapter. So definitely work hard on this chapter. As I said, this is important to kind of understand the future chapters. And at the end, we will talk about long run cost. The only thing you need to know about long run cost is the shape of average total cost in the long run, which is U shape, and some of the characteristics of this long run cost, like economies of scale, constant returns to scale, and diseconomies of scale. So if you read it, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Okay. All right. So it's kind of okay, 20 minutes long. So we have assignments as always from these chapters on Connect. Check them out. You have another discussion. Definitely do not miss it. What else? Just check my notes very quickly. I believe that is pretty much it, okay, for this chapter. So don't miss anything. Let me know if you have any question, please. I will post your midterm exam grade as soon as you are done, hopefully tomorrow or Wednesday. So you can also go back to Connect and check the test. Let me know if you have any question about the test. And I will post your grade on D12 as always. That's pretty much it. Okay. So just let me know if you have any question. All right. Have a great week, guys, and take care. See you soon.